Today's agenda is about Chrome, which is Google's web browser, and it's mostly going to be a live demonstration of what you can see in Chrome and how to use it, where to find things, and some settings you may or may not have utilized at some point. So we're going to take a look at that. We'll let you know how it ties into your Google account, and also take a look at extensions and the Google Chrome store, which is something that's kind of interesting as well. On the left is the Mac version of Chrome. And if I click on the Mac version of Chrome, you can see a menu pops up on the upper left. We'll talk a little bit about that. On the right, I have the Windows version of Chrome. And you can see that there's a very different type of menu, but it shows on my Mac Windows 11 up here on the upper left-hand corner, because I'm operating my Windows 11 as a virtual machine. It shows up maybe a little bit differently than it might show up in your version. I'm going to move this down just a little bit so I can see a few things. Okay, so I've got a side-by-side view here of Chrome on Mac and Chrome on Windows. And you can see they're virtually identical. They're virtually identical. About the only reason you can tell something's different is that this is my Windows machine that's running here with the taskbar on the bottom. And the menus look a little bit different because they're in Windows settings a little bit. You won't see this top row here on a Windows machine. That's because I'm running a virtual machine. But you will see the Windows menu up here, okay? Now, I can switch back and forth on my computer between Mac and Windows. We've got a search bar that's pretty consistent between the two. The Mac one says search Google or type a URL. This one doesn't say search. We've got a home button that takes us to the home page. That's the same. I've got a refresh or reload button that reloads a page with fresh information. That's the same. I've got back and forward buttons. Those are the same. So this top row is pretty consistent. There's a few icons that are a little bit different. There's this plus icon that gives me the ability to set my size on my Mac a little bit. It disappears once I've got it. I had it enlarged. I've got a share icon. The share icon looks different on a Mac than it does on a Windows machine, but they both exist, and we'll take a look at those. There's a favorite star button that gives me the ability to bookmark a web page and bookmark a particular tab. I've got tabs set up the same way. I've got a little extensions icon here, like on the Mac. I've got a G here next to it, which is a Google search side panel, but the G also gives me some extra tools. I'm not sure why it shows up on the Mac version this way and not on the Windows version, but I do have it on the Windows version. I do have, that's for Google's generative experiments tools that they have. There's my profile that says I'm logged in. And there's the three dots that give me the more function. And there's all bookmarks. And you can see my bookmarks are the same. These are my favorites: Bobology, college logins, Tech Explorer community, Zoom, content tools, CyberSafe, and Bobology, Mighty, Facebook, Spectrum. They're identical across both Mac and Windows because I am logged into my Google account, and I'm using Google to synchronize the data between my Google account on my Mac and my Google account on my Windows machine. You can even see that a shortcut I've added here is the same on both Windows and Mac. So there's not a whole lot of differences. You can even see the microphone and the Google Lens icon showing up here in search as well. So whether you're using it on a Windows or a Mac, they're virtually the same in terms of how they appear to you. This little beaker, Search Labs, that's where you enable your generative AI search. I've got that enabled here in Google, right? But I have it enabled here in Windows as well. But for some reason in Windows, it doesn't show up as a G. So let me try a search here, and let's try, what did Apple announce this week? Okay, if anything. Now, here's where it's giving me. So now I'll get an AI powered overview for the search here. On Windows, I click generate and it'll generate an AI view. But if I take that same and type the search tool and type it in here, and I do it in Google, it gives me a similar thing. But I don't know why I don't see the G up here for that one. So now they used to generate them automatically, but now they're generating a little bit of AI functionality here. So this is technically not Bard, it's AI search. So there's a difference between AI search versus Bard. Let's try an example here. Okay, so this is generating information about Pier 57. Instead of just giving you links, it generated some information about it. Similar thing will happen here if we go over to this tool and I say, that says, why do dogs have tennis balls? It'll generate a response. It's using Bard, but it's not the Bard website. Bard is the chat prompt tool. This is an AI generative search, which is different. Bard gives me the ability to ask Google questions, right, and enter prompts. It's a chat-like prompting tool, whereas generative search gives you the ability to use the search bar and it will give you some generative search results. So slightly different in terms of what it's designed to accomplish. So functionality, virtually the same between the two. We've got safe search functions here. So you can ask it to blur explicit image or turn it off. Safe search here, identical. Settings are going to be virtually identical. They're slightly different between Apple and Windows, only because of differences in the OS. But we've got our voice, we've got our Google Lens, and we've got our search functions in both search tools here. So let's take a look at one of the things. Obviously, your Google account tells you you're logged in. If you click on the waffle, it gives you your Google apps. So both of them work the same way, virtually identically. And you've got other search options along the top here with both tools being able to manage more information. Whenever you see 3 dots, it's indicating there's more information. My bookmarks on the right will look a little bit different. When I click on all bookmarks, it's just a short list, but they're formatting of the fonts a little bit different, but they are the identical bookmarks because they're synchronized with Google. If I open my side panel here, it's identical. The side panel gives me the ability to see bookmarks and sort them and search for them. One of the challenges with saving bookmarks, for those of you that like to save bookmarks, is you can save an awful lot of them. And every so often, about every 2 years or so, I'll go in and clean them up. But they get messy after a while. I have to manage them and go through them and try them. But they're identical. New folder, bookmarks bar, CyberSafe, Alex's photos, college logins, Apple, exactly the same on the left and right between the two of them because it's synced. So that's my bookmarks sidebar versus the bookmarks, all bookmarks button as well to see it. So you can get to your bookmarks in a lot of different ways. And let's see if this one added Apple. Yes, it's synced up and it added Apple as a shortcut already. So it's going to sync up between any of your devices as long as you're logged into your Google account. One thing is nice to do, it's nice to keep all your tabs open because that way you don't have to worry about opening up a new tab every time you go to a web page. You've got them all open. They're easy to use, but they do take up resources in terms of RAM in your computer as you continue to add them. But you can manage your tabs also by clicking on the tab menu and close tabs or group tabs together if you want to, but it'll show you all of your open tabs. And it's an easy way to switch between tabs too. So if I want to go right to Apple, I just have to click that from the tab menu. Okay, so we've looked at tabs, we've looked at bookmarks. If you ever want to add a bookmark, obviously, if we wanted to bookmark Bard, we could right click on it and it'll add a new tab, or we can pin it. We can also send it to our devices, close it. If we want to make it a bookmark, we just click on the star and that bookmarks it, and we can pick the folder where we want to put it. If it's in the bookmarks bar, it'll be on the bar that's always displayed underneath the search, but I can put it in another folder, and I can create folders as well. So now it's in that folder. It's bookmarked in the folder. So you have the ability, and that works virtually the same way on a Windows machine. Your bookmarks are going to be synced between your different devices as well. I tend to lose track of bookmarks. So if I want to save a website, I'll bookmark it. I tend to share the link and put it into some kind of a notes application. So the share icon on Windows gives you the ability to copy the link, create a QR code, cast it to a Google device, save the page as something if you want to. You can save the page as a complete web page on Windows, or you can copy the link or send it to another device. On a Mac, the share icon gives you essentially the same things: copy, send, create QR code, cast, and save page as. So you have the same options to be able to save it and share it with something else. Let me go to a blank tab here, and I've got my experiment. I've got images, which brings up Google image search primarily. This is a way to separate Google image from just Google search. You may or may not know, when you go to do a Google search, it's going to search everything on Google. So if I want to search for, say, bobcats, it'll find everything on bobcats. Now it says give an AI-powered overview for that search. It'll give me the option to do that. It doesn't bring it up by default, but I've got the ability to go to Converse, which is the AI chat. Now I can initiate that. Images, I can just look for images of bobcats, look for videos or other options here. And there's more options that give you the ability to look for books or flights or finance. And there's tools that give you the ability to go and do more advanced search if you're interested too. So some interesting tools there for search. If we go to settings, settings will show you your search history, and I can delete the last 15 minutes. It turns safe search on by default, changes the language, changes the theme to a dark theme. If I want to make it a dark theme, it'll change it to this kind of a theme instead. It's doing it that way. And if I want to go back to a light theme, I can just go back to a light theme in settings. And there's more settings. Okay, here's where I could find advanced search. So advanced search has all of these things. These are text fields that give you the ability to avoid having to understand what Boolean operators are. So if you were looking for web pages with these words, it'll search for web pages that have those words. But if you wanted a web page that had a phrase in quotes, you don't have to type the quotes. You can exclude words. You can have numbers and ranges. So if you're looking and shopping for something, I'm looking for gifts between $13.99 and $15, you can do that, or in any currency you choose to. Languages, regions, updated, specific websites if you wanted it to search on a specific website, or terms appearing anywhere or just in the title, the file type format, and any usage we'll get out. Okay, let me go into customize Chrome. In the lower right-hand corner, there are some customizing options. You can change the theme. I mean, if you're looking at your browser window all day long. You can change the theme and modify it or give it some color. And you notice how it's adapting it on the other screen at the same time. It's kind of interesting, taking a few second delay, but it actually is saving the settings and synchronizing them between. You can choose to show the shortcuts, or if you don't want shortcuts, it can let it to show most visited site, cards or recipe ideas, and cards that'll show different types of things. And I can change the default theme to something a little more dramatic, to like Native American artists, and pick something out like that that will give me a little more dynamic view. And it just synchronizes them both identically. I think that's just terrific the way it does that. If you don't see Customize Chrome in the lower right-hand corner, you can always click on the three dots. Usually that gives you the ability to get to something. So if you go to the three dots and you go to settings, you'll be able to get to it in the settings. I can create a new tab, a new window, which creates another window of Chrome, a new incognito window, look at my history, check my downloads, which I know they end up in my downloads folder, but Chrome and Edge and Safari will keep track of downloads, manage my bookmarks. Google now manages your passwords for you. We'll take a look at extensions in a few minutes. Print, cast, find on the page. More tools. I can edit, cut, copy, paste, and get help. Okay. So in the settings options, you have the ability in your Google account, your sync, everything you're doing, autofill, passwords. You can store Google Wallet, privacy and security, take the privacy guide, check your browsing history, check the performance, which is new, and appearance, style, search engine. You can change the default search engine on Chrome. Default browser, no. On startup, what do you want it to do? Open the new page, app and continue where you left off, open a specific page, change your languages and spell checker and translate, determine where your downloads go, update accessibility features to make it easier to navigate around and give live captioning, change some system settings, which are generally, you don't want to play around with those. You want to use hardware acceleration when available. You can reset everything back to defaults, and this will tell you the version of Chrome you're using. It'll check for updates. Automatic updates are turned on, so I don't have to worry about that. So those are all virtually identical on Chrome between Windows and Mac. Chrome has been installed so much by everybody, it's kind of a default. Some websites do say they work better in Chrome, and the reason is that a website creator will typically test a website to make sure it works in Chrome. They might not test it in other browsers. The last thing I want to show you are extensions. Extensions are added software tools that you can add to give your browser additional functionality. And you can get extensions through what is called the Google Chrome Web Store. The Google Chrome Web Store gives you the ability to find hundreds of different extensions: Zoom, Translate, Drive, others, backgrounds, others that are out here, AI-powered extensions, dim the lights, nighttime, color themes, games, shopping and saving, and other types of features. So there's just thousands of extensions that are available. The Chrome's Web Store will have both themes and extensions. So if you're into like space, you can find all kinds of themes for your browser, nature, landscape, minimalist, games, anime, colors, cars, art, design, just an artist series, a tremendous number of themes alone. Because if you're looking at your web browser all day, maybe you want something a little bit different. But extensions is where you find software tool. Okay, so they have extensions that if you're writing something, say in Gmail and you're using Chrome, you may want a copy editing tool, or you may want something that's more helpful for you to understand things. So there's tools for education, for productivity. There's tools for developing applications, tools for education. Google's very big in education. Just general purpose tools that you can utilize, workflow and planning, art and design, entertainment, games, household functions. And we're not even scrolling down on each of these, just for fun, news and weather tools, shopping tools, social networking tools, travel tools, well-being. And you can also adjust Chrome for accessibility features. I have some hearing loss, and I know we have some people that have some vision loss or functionality and user interface. You can change these and add these. You can search for extensions also. I have a few extensions enabled, not too many, but my extensions are bit.ly, which is a URL shortener, Google Docs Offline, which gives me the ability to edit and manage Google Docs offline. So it's a common one. Let's look at it. Let's look at Google has a number of extensions of their own. There's just a tremendous amount of extensions. You can filter them. So there's a whole nother range of add-ins. I mean, they're called extensions in web browsers. They're add-ins and plugins. They all pretty much mean the same thing. It's something that may be developed by Google that doesn't ship standard with the browser, or it may be something developed by a third party. So these are all extensions, and mine are bit.ly, Google Docs, Password Manager, Reader View. Google does not have a native Reader View, but you can install an extension, and Wave Evaluation Tool, which is a accessibility evaluation tool for websites. Hey, so that's all for today. Taking a look at Chrome on both Mac and Windows, and a lot of the functionality that's available is similar between both platforms. Be sure to tune in to Bobology for future videos, and remember to subscribe when you get a chance. Thanks. This is Bob Cohen, and have a good day.